As I mentioned yesterday, God has been literally squeezed out of the discussion table. He's off the screen, off the radar screen for so many Jews that we meet and that we know. Why is that? As I mentioned, separation of church and state has turned into separation of God and state. And just talking about God, having God as part of the agenda is really not popular, and it's not something that's accepted. And the fact is we need to put God back onto the dining room table, put God back onto the living room table, put God back into the discussion. Because it's a very simple discussion, and it's something that's so important. I've met couples that I've done counseling for that had a conflict in their marriage because one found out after they were married already for a year that the other one didn't believe in God. There was never any discussion about it whatsoever. And there's nothing wrong about talking about God and talking about our complaints to God and talking about try to understand God and something we read about God and making God part of our lives. Judaism, God's not some distant, far off existence that really has nothing to do with us. And when we pray, we're not praying to something that's a trillion miles away up in the heavens. Abraham, our father, taught us that God is as much here as anywhere. And in the spiritual and the physical, it makes no difference. God is omnipresent. God is omniscient. So when I have these talks with some people, they look at me like I'm from Mars. And that's okay, because I don't mind. Talking about God is something I'm very comfortable about. But there are many people who are very uncomfortable talking about God. And the question is why? Is it because talking about God all of a sudden brings out feelings of misunderstanding, of lack of control, of feeling that it's the opiate of the masses? I don't want to fall into that group. If I believe in God, that means I have to become religious. If I become religious, that means changing my lifestyle, and so forth and so on. And I think what happens is people start to get nervous about where the discussion is going to take them. And it's good to just have a discussion. Do I believe in God or don't I believe in God? And what kind of God do I believe in? What kind of God does Judaism teach about? What kind of God should I believe in? I don't mean should in terms of that Judaism is prescribing a particular belief to you. Although Judaism lifts your knowledge and your understanding of what a God is to a point where you say, you know what? That's a pretty amazing picture of a master of the universe, of a creator who creates every being, who cares about every being, who's involved in every being. And as a result, it really lifts us up to want to believe in that type of God. And that's a God we're going to discuss a little bit about to understand. And just for those of you who might still hold on to being a little bit of an atheist in your own life and not having God in the agenda and feeling very comfortable with God not being part of your life whatsoever, I just want to throw out a little bit of a challenge. I mentioned in one of the earlier broadcasts, but I want to repeat it for anybody who might have missed it before. And that is very simply, the question is, I can't come to you and scientifically prove to you 100% that God exists. You know what? I don't think God intended that we'd be able to bring 100% proof, because if that would be the case, it would take away from our free choice. I could sit down with anybody and say 1 + 2 = 3, and there's no discussion. God wanted us to have free choice. Similarly, you, the atheist, can't really prove to me beyond a shadow of a doubt that God does not exist. There's no way you could prove such a thing. And for the sake of intellectual honesty, we have to have the balance. The scale has to be balanced on both sides. So just as I can't prove to you, so to say, you can't prove to me. So if you can't prove to me that God doesn't exist, then for practical purposes, you need to check into being an agnostic, not an atheist. Because an agnostic at least is being honest about the fact that he doesn't know or she doesn't know. And she has no idea, but it infers at the same time that there's a little bit of a search involved. There's a little bit of a question mark, that a person's willing to be open to the idea that maybe there is a master to this universe. Maybe there is a God leading this world who created it for a purpose. And that all of a sudden can open our minds up to be able to hopefully continue this discussion, to put God back onto the dining room table, put God back onto our bookshelves, and put God back into our lives to some small degree. Take care. Look forward to continuing the discussion with you.